There is a small paradise among the high mountains, whose mining origin is fascinating. It is located about 30 minutes from the capital of Hidalgo. It is to date the highest magic town in Mexico. This geographical space, whose background is characterized by being from the mining industry, and in which the first mineral veins were discovered in 1552, witnessed important episodes such as the first strike in America, and also the origin of soccer in Mexico, being the English miners who introduced it to the country. And as it is to be expected, the first soccer game in Mexico was played here. Real del Monte is one of the most emblematic and therefore touristic sites in Hidalgo, and is part of the Corredor de la Montaña route that brings together towns such as Huasca de Ocampo, Mineral del Chico, Omitlán, among others. It joined the Pueblo Mágico program in August 28, 2004. Prior to the conquest, Real del Monte was known as Magotzi, from the Otomi Ma, which means height, and Gotzi, step, door, gate, and that it was precisely the passage of those who came to the Huasteca or the lordship of Metztitlán to go to the great Tenochtitlan. About the name of the place, there is less clarity. It is believed that the name of Mineral del Monte was adopted when the town was founded, but during the Spanish domination, it was changed to Real del Monte due to the custom during the colonial era of calling all places under the domain of the Spanish crown that way, especially the mining centers. The mines were worked from the 16th century to the beginning of the 18th century. However, the main exploitation was limited to the Vizcaína vein in the years 1726 and 1727. In 1824, with the most advanced mining technology that existed at the time, the English arrived at this place, thus leaving a perpetual mark on the physiognomy and culture of this town, such as machine houses, the Methodist church, the English-style cemetery, their houses with their own style, and of course, the famous, traditional, and admissible pastes, which have become a gastronomic icon of the place. And speaking of gastronomy, although I couldn't show the pastes because all the places were quite crowded, I was able to enjoy other delicious dishes from the region. There are several options: the multiple restaurants in the center of the town, the market, and the food stands that are always around. My personal recommendation is the marketplace, where you can always find traditional gastronomy with the most homemade recipe and generally the best prices. The English Cemetery, one of the most visited sites in Real del Monte, is characterized by its upright tombstones and unique arrangement. It was donated by the Englishman Thomas Straffan, who at the time was an official of the mining companies. The cemetery is located on top of one of the town's mountains and was built in 1851. By the way, in this cemetery, only descendants of the relatives who are here or direct relatives of them can be buried. You will often find urban artists on the sidewalks, which further decorate and give the magical touch to this already fabulous place. The tour on the Turibus is a must. This tour goes all around the town. An expert in the history of Real del Monte recounts the history of the municipality and its most emblematic figures, as well as the most representative legends. The Turibus has 2 floors. It is very safe, but only for those who go on the second floor. It is recommended that they don't stick their hands out or even raise them, since there are power cables and some other things on the route along the way that could hurt somebody. So when you come, if you go on the second floor, don't get up during the tour or stick your hands out for your own good. On December 31st, a great celebration is held in the main square, with popular dances, fireworks, and grape harvest to welcome the new year. In January, the Sweet Festival is organized, which is celebrated with a religious procession that marches through the town. The Silver Festival is held during the month of June in order to recognize the work of the miner. The Paste Festival takes place in October and has the participation of the best and most experienced bakers around. In the surroundings, you can clearly see the English influence. It's houses and buildings with an English touch. Another natural phenomena that occurs in this place is the ever-descending mist, either early in the mornings or in the afternoons, covering the chimneys of the old mines and the tall pine trees of the cemetery, where some of the English miners who work here rest. When you come to Real del Monte, do not forget to delight yourself with a paste, the traditional dish of this place. This type of pastry is made in brick ovens. Although there are many flavors, don't forget to try the traditional potato and shredded meat. In the Museo del Paste, you can actually make your own in the workshop that is included. In addition, you will learn more about the history of this typical delight. Explore the Acosta mine, one of the oldest in the region dating back to the 17th century. You will enter this 400-meter deep mine with a helmet and lamp, where you will see machinery from the time, and I will show you in one of the following videos. In the side museum is the La Dificultad mine, the most important in the town and recognized for its iconic chimney. In the Occupational Medicine Museum, you will learn more about the diseases suffered by the miners and the resources used by doctors to cure them. And we will be visiting that in just a minute. The English Cemetery, nestled in the forest, where the remains of many of the miners who worked in these lands rest. The Iloche, a forest of pines and oyamels, from where you can appreciate a panoramic view of Real del Monte. The ex-hacienda of San Miguel and Santa Maria Regla, built in the 18th century, which are very close to Real del Monte and Huasca de Ocampo. In 1907, the mining hospital was founded, created thanks to the collaboration of the Barreteros and the Compañía Real del Monte y Pachuca, with the purpose of having a hospital for the miners and their families, especially for those who suffered accidents or chronic illnesses acquired in the performance of their work, such as silicosis. It is currently a one-of-a-kind museum in Mexico. It preserves the facilities, much of its furniture, and medical equipment used since its opening. This museum is an interesting example of occupational medicine in Mexico and a means of learning about its history. The Museum of Occupational Medicine in Nicolás Zavala is a museum dedicated to the history of hospitals and mining. To cover part of the expenses, a discount of 2 to 4% was applied to the employees and operators of the mines, as well as a special fee of 5 cents per individual for the construction of the hospital. In 1907, the hospital had a chief surgeon, 2 assistant surgeons, a head nurse, 5 nurses, and an apothecary. The company built a medical surgical unit made up of 2 rooms, each equipped with 12 beds, with additional space for another 12. The apothecary was installed and equipped in November 1907. The hospital stopped providing medical services in 1982, when the miners were incorporated into the health services of the Mexican Social Security Institute. In 1996, the Historical Archive and Mining Museum of the Civil Association received a donation from the Compañía Real del Monte y Pachuca, the property and part of the furniture equipment. The project was postponed until 2002, at which time the collection of resources began, as well as the restoration and adaptation works. On October 27, 2004, the Museum of Occupational Medicine was inaugurated. This museum has exhibits in medical areas such as hospitalization, x-rays, nursing, medical consultation, rehab, gynecology, traumatology, orthopedics, operation room, otorhinolaryngology, and an apothecary where medicines were made. The space that functioned as the head nurse's house is used to present exhibitions of a diverse cultural nature. The cultural center is complemented by an exhibition of posters from the Department of Safety in the mines, which illustrates the real accidents that occurred in the mines in order to warn of the risks and dangers that the miners could face and to observe the conditions of work that prevailed. Other services offered by this museum are a word archive, which attempts to recover the oral history of the mining union, exhibition halls, where various artistic expressions are accommodated. In 1907, when the old mining hospital was inaugurated, a woman was hired as head nurse because she actually had a degree, something not very common at that time. Her name was Nelly Zurhaar, a Dutch woman dedicated to her work, and who lived in a house next to the hospital. She never returned to her country. She died in 1959 at the age of 78. Her body rests in the famous English cemetery.
However, some residents say that she never left. It's been said that some patients were cared for in the early hours of the morning by her. They commented that they had been cared for by the nurse Zurhaar even years after her death. There are those who claim that they've heard strange sounds in what was her home. And even in 2008, a photograph of a group of tourists was released, capturing the image of one of the windows and what appears to be a faded face leaning out. It is presumed to be that of the famous nurse.
If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, like it, and enjoy everything that is enjoyable. There is much more to come.